The first signs of burn-in on the Samsung S95B have been seen. Now, this has been seen at a Best Buy, and I got the text message from one of our loyal community members here, and I super appreciate him for sending that over to us. But essentially, this basically tells the story where it's not going to, again, be impervious to burn-in on static elements. So when you're in a retail environment or something like that, the Samsung S95B is still going to exhibit burn-in. If you have it, again, just displaying typically tiles is what I've seen, in my opinion. That could be a text box, that could be a service menu, any user interface with, again, just tiles, little thumbnails, things like that. If you leave it on the screen for a prolonged period of time, and that's kind of all you do, you get burn-in pretty fast in my experience with this kind of thing. And I say that because, again, I've been seeing tons of burn-in come on Samsung phones and other OLEDs from that particular usage. It's usually like when you're watching things like TikTok or YouTube or something with, again, seriously static elements. Now, that's not to say that the Samsung S95B can't get burn-in in other ways, but it's a lot harder if you're using it and rotating your content, at least from my experience from using all the OLEDs that I've experienced over the years. Now, again, I'm not an ignorant OLED owner, and I'm not going to tell you burn-in is a myth. It doesn't exist. But what I will tell you is that you should know yourself when you're buying these TVs. And what I mean is, don't be that guy playing a bunch of strategy RPG games with like nothing but solid, menus, and it's a turn-based game, so there's not really a lot happening on the screen. There's barely any movement kind of thing. Because even though there's a pixel shift option in the OLED Care menu of sorts where you can, again, try to mitigate that by turning on the burn-in preventative measures, it's not going to eliminate burn-in altogether. And I think that's the most important thing that you guys should take away from this whole thing. Now, some people will probably continue to see these kinds of things happen in retail stores, and it's going to get people scared, and people are going to start to wonder, well, should I buy an OLED, Quantum Dot OLED? Should I even buy an OLED in general? And frankly, it's literally one of the biggest questions that I've continuously gotten over the years. And I think, again, it really does depend on how you're using it. And I know that sounds like a cliche cop-out answer, but it's true, because while some people mostly using nothing but static elements on screen would have a problem, other people not so much. As you see, this is, Final Fantasy. I believe this is like Final Fantasy VII. I don't really keep up with this stuff, so don't hate me. But this is the Final Fantasy for the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5/PlayStation 4. And you guys can get an idea that I play all of my games with static elements, so full HUDs enabled and things like that. But the thing is, games are changing. Usually there are always things happening in those games, unless you are, again, using a strategy RPG game like I was saying earlier. And I think if you're somebody that is using a regular video gaming experience, you should not have many problems, as that's been at least what I've seen so far. I keep testing these throughout the years, of course. But so far, again, if you're just gaming on it and watching movies, you should be very fine. Again, no static elements. That's the nature of OLED. That being said, though, if you're the type of person to fall asleep or go to the grocery store or leave a room and forget that you have those static elements on, I think that is where you're going to run into the biggest problems, because, again, that's how OLED works, right? So, long story short, this is a really drawn-out video to just kind of tell you guys that I'm not really worried about getting burn-in on my Samsung S95B, but I will continue to test it. So, I think I'll start doing the burn-in tests, I think, every week or so. I'll try to keep up with that as often as I can to show you, like, with using this as like a main television for gaming and movies and all that stuff, is this more susceptible to burn-in for, one, being brighter, and two, for it being a different OLED coming from a different manufacturer? Because we know LG has had the monopoly for many years, and maybe they figured out something that Samsung hasn't. Only time will tell how these TVs hold up, and I'm going to be one of those people that is going to do everything he can to try to show you exactly how well this TV either does or does not hold up. So with all that being said, I want to thank you guys so much for watching the #1 brand in honesty. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down below. And until the next video, I'll see you guys later.